Hey, Mike. So it's great to have you on the show. Mike is a five times head of sales, driven over 100 million in revenue in SaaS, over 50 companies, and specializes in 0 to 10 million. He focuses today on creating a lead system, sales system, and leadership system, an advisor to 100 plus startups and 300K followers on social. That's a lot of achievements, Mike. Let's hear a little bit about you.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, what happened is I had this amazing experience over the course of my 20s and 30s, working at a variety of different companies, big and small, SaaS, not SaaS, domestic, international. And what I was able to do is try to figure out what works ubiquitously. What works in America that also works in Argentina? What works in SMB, the state that works for enterprise? What works for software that works for services. And so I've been able to curate down all of the junk that everyone thinks they should be doing or are told on LinkedIn they should be doing to just the things that actually matter. And I've been able to just dive deep in those items to make sure that I'm doing them as good as I possibly can. Now I've been lucky enough to be able to work with companies to be able to install these systems in their companies individually, so they don't have to learn from the mistakes that I and millions of others have made.
That's awesome, Mike. So let's start with those mistakes. What kind of mistakes do you see out there?
Yeah, so let's talk about I want to talk about this in three groups. We have pipeline, profit, and people. So when it comes to pipeline, I think a couple of big mistakes everybody makes. We hire SDRs without understanding our average deal size and our win rate. And so we'll hire an SDR, pay him what is a going rate for the SDR, let's say 70, 80K, not realizing that on the back of that, we might now be paying $7,000 per deal. Is it worth it? Is that an appropriate CAC to have? So actually doing that math ahead of time is really critical. I've definitely messed that up. Another thing that I've messed up is trying to have account executives do outbound. When you take a team who's used to getting inbound leads or used to getting outbound leads sent to them and put in their calendar, and then suddenly say, hey, your job is now two things. It's both generating and closing leads. One of those things will be immediately sacrificed. And typically it's both items. So that has been a huge area that most companies, older companies in particular, I find, or new companies that are trying to save costs will try to do that. It just doesn't work. You need to, or if you do that, you need to make sure that you're using a variety of softwares beneath that person to make it so they can do that. So we should definitely talk about things that are working, software tech stacks, so you can have that AE who's doing it, or even the solopreneur who's doing it. That's another thing we've definitely done wrong. Also, not compensating differently for outbound deals. Inbound deals are easy to close, outbound deals are harder to close. So if I get 10 inbounds, 10 outbounds, even if one of those outbound deals is Coca Cola and it can make me a millionaire if I close the deal, I'm not going to work on it as much as the inbound deals because they're going to be easy. Why am I ever going to eat celery when I have a French fry in front of me? So you need to say that we're going to pay significantly more to eat celery, or you're going to pay significantly more to close outbound deals. So it's really important that you don't hire BDRs without understanding the cost and your potential CAC. It's important that you don't have your AEs do outbound, and it's important without a tech stack, and it's important that you don't compensate the same for outbound. Those are a few. I probably have about a dozen other mistakes I've probably made, but I'll pause there to take your thoughts on that.
No, I can definitely relate to a lot of the points over there. I can also, I have executive friends that say they have to do outbound as well, and they feel that it's really not efficient. So a lot of the things that you're saying definitely hit home. So
Yeah.
let's talk
So
a little bit about the do's from those three P's,
yeah,
wherever you'd like to start.
yeah, absolutely. So right now we're still on the pipeline. So what I'll say here is what you do want to do is back into the amount of activities you believe it will take to generate the meetings you believe you need. So take your goal. I want to close $1 million. Divide that goal by what you believe your average deal size is or is going to be. Let's say $10,000. Cool. So now you know I need to close. What's the math? 1,000 $10,000 deals? No, is that right? I have to close 1,000 $10,000 deals to hit my number. Okay, 1,000 deals. Then you want to divide that number by your win rate. So if you think you're going to close 10%, then that means that you would do 1,000 or 10, whatever the freaking number is, 1,000, let's call it, divided by zero point 0.1. Now you're going to know I have to create 10,000 deals to close 1,000 deals. Okay, so now we're at this new number, 10,000. I got to create 10,000 deals. To create 10,000 deals, you want to have some estimate of how many activities or contacts you think it would take to hit that number. Typically, let's just give a generic number here in the mid market, for you to book especially without having a full team, to be able to sink a bunch of money into BDRs that are not profitable for a long time. For you to be able to do that, you should be able to assume with automation, you'll get one meeting, one deal booked for every 300 to 400 contacts that you go after. Now, you're going to go after those contacts more than once in a year, but ballpark speaking, 300 contacts. Okay. So that means for me to hit 10,000 deals, I need to do 3 million contacts, I think is the math on this really weird example. So I need to find 3 million people. And typically what I find is you can ballpark average double that number for the number of activities. So 3 million people, 6 million activities to get 10,000 deals to close 1,000 deals to make $1 million. So what you do when you do all this backing in, you might want to divide it by the month and then go, can I do this? Maybe the answer is no. Maybe the answer is I could do half of that. So now I need to find another avenue to get leads. So I might say most people are just like, I need leads, cold call, or I need leads, outbound. Well, if you look and go like, could outbound generate, or cold calling or whatever it is, generate the number you're looking for? If the answer is no, what can it do? Now we got to subsidize the rest with content, with paying advertising companies, right? There's a variety of things you can do. So the first thing that you need to do if you want to become successful in generating pipeline is backing into all of the numbers per month of how you will hit your targets each month. The second thing that you need to do in order to be successful at generating pipeline is creating content. Right now, we all know there's owned, earned, and paid media. But right now, people are focusing on, especially newer founders, is I'm going to create a podcast. I'm going to do outbound. I'm going to have a beautiful website. I'm going to post on LinkedIn every day. Those are wonderful things to get started. So I commend you for doing the podcast, for example. In addition, though, video content is absolutely critical. If you are not making video content, in 2 years, you will not have any leads, not inbound, not outbound, or otherwise. So the only companies that will be able to do this, to live in a world like that, will be companies where their margins are so high that they can afford to have monster size CAC, because the actual CAC over LTV is still at 3, but their CAC, they could have a CAC that's 30 grand because it might cost them 30 grand to get a customer. Here's why I say this. As we all know, the sales process has been getting done by the customer alone. More and more of the sales process has been done by the customer before they talk to a salesperson. With the advent of communities like Pavilion and other tech communities that you can be involved in, a lot of decisions are made on what software to buy or what tool to buy by just asking your friends in that community. I'm looking at buying a tool. What do you guys recommend? They give you 2. You do 2 demos, you're done, and that's what you go with. So when we're going to get to the point very, very quickly here where everybody's going to be doing that same thing, but instead of slacking a group in Pavilion or a text chain or whatever, they're going to just pull up TikTok or Instagram, and they're going to be like, I like what this guy's saying. I like what this company is saying. I want to go forward with this company. Because we might take 3 to 6 months of research by seeing content on TikTok and Instagram before we go, you know what? Now's a good time. And so if you think that the only content you should be making is a podcast and cold emails, that is great for today. But in 6 months from now, it's not going to cut it. And you need to make video content. So I wish one of the things is that I did earlier, it took me a while, is that I started making content earlier. If you want to create pipeline today and pipeline a year and 5 years from now, you need to create content. One company I would recommend for it is growthmatch.io. What they do is you basically have an interview with them They chop that interview into a bunch of text and video pieces of content and even post on your behalf. So you can have that done for you versus having to spend time doing it. Otherwise, you can be like me and just every time driving your kids home from daycare, you do a couple videos in the car and you edit them while you're watching TV at night. But that's critical. Making content is going to be the future of lead generation, without a doubt.
So, if I understand you correctly, the buyer is doing a lot more research these days. And for you want to enable him to do that research and make it as easy as possible, and for him to get those bite sized chunks of understanding about your thought leadership and about your product, correct?
Yeah, well said, better than I said it. Yes. And I think, though, the one thing I want to say with content, if you're making content about yourself, you are only focusing on bottom of the funnel people. Even a podcast is a great example of this, where who are the people that are willing to spend 20, 30 minutes, 3 hours listening to a podcast? Those are people that are probably pretty interested in your product. Where for me, I'm focusing on making 5 to 30 second videos. So the barrier to entry to get in to see my content is, do you have 2 seconds of time? So I'm getting people that are way at the top of the funnel. They then follow me and see more content. They kind of move naturally down the middle of the funnel. They then might buy a lead magnet that I offer, and they go further down the funnel. They might join the newsletter and go even further down the funnel. But that's how you get people to actually be interested in your product, is not talking about your product, but talk about things that they are interested in, which would then get them in the top of the funnel, and they will come down the funnel where it makes sense.
It sounds to me like the barrier between marketing and sales is becoming a little bit gray, right? Because content is what marketing was pushing for all these years, and sales was like, screw it. Just, let's call people, let's hit them up in the streets. But now it looks like, and there's also this motion, I think that Chris Walker is talking about, lots of other marketing folks, where stop focusing on separate KPIs for each team. Let's figure out how we can work together with common goals and reach those KPIs together, because the system is broken today.
Yes. So what happened is, marketing forever was branding, branding, branding. We don't know why it's important. We just know that it's important. But then all these SaaS companies came in with VC funding, and everybody had a number, and we knew we needed a certain number of deals on our calendar to book to hit our target. So then marketing became demand gen, and it was like, we don't care about all the branding you're doing. What we care about is, like, can we show ROAS on every dollar spent? Now, I don't have, I could not, I literally could not give you a single, there's no tracked anywhere number over the last 3 years of things I've done that will say this lead came from TikTok. None. But I have 100% of my leads, I can tell you today, have come from TikTok and Instagram. So when we stop giving marketers a, you must hit this certain meeting target number, and we start saying, if we can just spend a crap ton of money in marketing to generate really, really quality content that's not about us, it will work well on the downstream. Yes, I agree with you. There's been a split, but there's a connection now between marketing and sales that there hasn't been before. However, I think that the key to unlock the power of that is in having marketing, giving marketing the freedom and in fact the direction to not talk about us. The article that we're writing that's about how great phone technology is does not need to also say, and that's why we created our company, which is incredible, and here's how you book a demo. It should just be things that people who are interested in potentially what it is that you do might also be interested in.
So basically, the buyers don't want to feel like you are doing anything to them. It has to be very subconscious. They want to feel like they're learning more about the field. And then it's up to them to decide, hey, I'm on that website. Oh, that looks like a cool logo. Let's learn more. But once you introduce something, there seems to be some form of bias. So then they trust the content less. I'm trying to understand what you're getting at.
Exactly. The more that your content has, the second that your content has anything about you, immediately your content now becomes untrustworthy. I think that, even imagine getting an email. We've probably all gotten this email from a friend who's going to do a marathon. And the friend says, "Hey, Mike, I hope you're doing all right. Really thinking of you. By the way, I'm running a marathon. I need some cash. Do you think you could donate?" Suddenly you're like, "Oh, you don't actually care about me. I haven't heard from you in 6 years." Where if instead, if they were just saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, I'm thinking about you," and they're talking to you, naturally what would come up is they would say, "Oh, by the way, I'm running a marathon. And my thing is this, my charity is this charity." And you might say, "Oh, I'd love to donate to you." So that's what will actually cause people to feel like your content is legit and want to actually get involved. They have to trust you. I think especially in today's world, there's so many new things happening every month that you can't be sure which tool is the right tool to buy. So you either lean on a friend who's used it, lean on whatever you've used in the past, or you lean on who you trust. And so your job as a marketer should just be creating a mass quantity of trust with an audience that would potentially want to buy your products. In fact, I think a good barrier or a good to understand, are we making good content, is could we sell our audience other products outside of what we sell? If the answer to that is no, then you've only told an audience why you're great. If the answer to that is yes, then you have become a thought leader in the blank industry. And whether you're pitching your product or somebody else's product or tables, your audience would go, "I trust you," because you always give great content.
So I'd like to rewind a little bit to what you said earlier, and I'd like to be devil's advocate. So you said, don't put a plug in about yourself. It lowers the trust. I'd like to ask you, and you also said just let the marketers do their stuff, release content that people are interested in at the top of the funnel. But how they're, and you said also, I think, regarding Instagram and TikTok, that you couldn't measure it, but you know that they're coming from there. Now, let's say I have the opposite case where I've been doing this for a month too. I'm spending thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on content. How do I know if I'm going in the right direction or not? Is there a way to optimize this?
Yeah. So great point. Well, the first thing I'm going to say to this is you can do this on your own without having to pay thousands of dollars. You see the content I make, and it costs me $0. It takes me about 10 minutes per video that I make, and I make 3 videos per day. And that 10 minutes is 5 minutes in the car making the video and 5 minutes while I'm watching TV writing a caption. And on the back of that, I have 300,000 followers and have amassed tons of money, let's say, from customers and tons of followers as well. So it doesn't have to be this really well thought out stuff. As long as you have quality content, which I think most founders do because of the experiences they've had in their life, you can absolutely do it. That said, what you can do to have as some landmarks to know if you're going in the right direction is you should have, let's say on TikTok, in a month, you should have 750 followers. If you don't, something's wrong. In a month, you should have a couple of pieces of content that are over 2,000 views. If you don't, there's something wrong with your content. In a month, you should have, you should be averaging, at least, let's say, 10 to 20 likes per post. If you're not getting those numbers, something's wrong about the content. I've seen a lot of people that started social right when I started and they haven't worked out. And I almost want to reach out because I'm like, I think it's actually just like you use this filter. I don't trust that. You're wearing this shirt every time and it throws me off every time I'm watching it. You start 1 second too late and that makes me not want to jump in. You are kind of yelling and I don't want to be told that I'm doing things wrong. So there are some small things that can make a big impact on your content too.
So it sounds to me, I think the one reservation I have about what you said, and I do agree it's possible to be very successful with the low budget. However, I do think a lot of people don't necessarily come off good on camera, even if they were to work their whole life at it. And I'm wondering now, when I'm looking at the skills of next gen founders, it's to be a TikToker or it's to be good on social, right? To be able to sell not, in board meetings or pitches to your client, but now you have to be able to sell on TikTok or on LinkedIn or wherever it's going to be.
Yeah, so there's a simple answer for this. So on TikTok or Instagram or anywhere, you do not need to be in front of the camera. Some alternatives you can do outside of just like doing what they call a bobblehead, I believe, video. You can get a little clip for your desk and put your phone up and actually just type what you the exact thing you want to say. There are 10 ways that you can do three things better, and then put the video on 2x speed. You can interview other people. You can actually you just walk up to people in the office, or to your wife, or to friends or family, or even to a puppet. If you I'm making this up in my mind right now, but honestly, I've got all these kids, and my kids all have all these stuffed animals. If I walked up to them and I had the camera like this, and I just had a microphone, and I went up to the little Elmo, and I was like, Elmo, what do you think of the top three ways that people are getting data wrong today? And then I just talk over the Elmo, like and then in the edit, just voice over it. People would love that stuff. That would be great. Typing, great. I do somewhere I'm videoing me write, or I'm videoing me write on a whiteboard. Actually, I did that in this room a couple times. In fact, I've done some videos where I'm holding it like this. I go to the whiteboard, I write whatever I'm going to write, and then I just do a 2 second clip. Clip. Three things you want to make sure that you do to get this right. Clip. I go back to the whiteboard. I edit, add. Step one, make sure you do this. Pause. Edit. Step two. So you do not need to be in front of the camera to be able to create good content. Also, top 10 lists people always love. So you can just pull like stock imagery, stock video imagery, and just put your top 10 most expensive, least expensive, best, worst, fastest, whatever. So if you sell, to give me something, you sell a data software, it'd be like top 10 companies that are doing the most, they have the most servers, least servers, where the most server farms are, least server firms are, who has the most customers, least customers, like all of those things people are interested in. And with super simple editing tools, like I don't know what I'm doing, super simple editing tools, you can have it show up like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So you keep people's attention, which is what also pushes your content out further. So no, I don't care if you don't want to be in front of the camera. You too can have a huge following, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, or the new thing coming out, or YouTube Shorts or whatever, by just interviewing, videoing yourself typing, or videoing yourself writing.
So it sounds super simple. Let's say we have a founder now who is a little bit anxious and has never done this before. What are the first few steps he can do to go about what you just said? Like,
Sure.
open up X and then do Y.
Yeah. Step one is open up a TikTok account. Step two is open up an Instagram account. Step three is open up a YouTube account. Step four is open up a repurpose.io account. Repurpose.io, what it allows you to do is you post on TikTok, and then it will automatically take the watermark off and then post it to Instagram for you and post it to YouTube for you. So you can post on one spot, but it'll go to three. That's the first 5 steps, let's say. Then you want to think through, just write down who is your audience in general. Just have fun, write down what is your ICP that you've already got written down. The next thing I would write down though is what is the kind of stuff that they are into. So if they're into, if I'm selling HR software, but the people that buy from me are all like mid 30s people that are in cool cities, I'm going to talk about like top restaurants. They care about eating good restaurants. They care about mountain biking. They care about they're having kids soon. Those are topics that those types of folks are interested in. And you can also Google what do people who look like X, Y, or Z, what are they interested in? Chat GPT. Cool. So now you've got a general set of topics people are kind of interested in. When you know your audience and you got your accounts. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to write down top 10 lists for each of these items. Top 10 best restaurants, worst restaurants, whatever. Okay. Then you're going to write down like if you could think of three tips you would have for each of these things. Write down your three tips. And then we'll start there. Okay. If you don't want to be in front of the camera, you'll now go to Google and just type in vertical stock videos and download a few onto your phone. If you're cool with being in front of the camera, you're cool. If you want to do the typing thing, buy the little stand so you can video yourself typing and video yourself writing or whatever. Great. So now what you're going to do is you're going to, oh, sorry, one thing you should do, you should have also gone back and just gone to TikTok or Instagram and typed in like CEO, founder, whoever your ICP is, and see what kind of videos are using that hashtag so you can see what types of content people are liking. This should take you like a half hour to do all of this. Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to create two or three different, you want to write down two or three different hooks that you can use to start a video. Hook is just the first couple seconds. So the best ones that do well are going to be negative. So instead of saying like three ways I've improved my revenue, it would be like three things I would never do, or like, if I can go back in time, here's three things I wish I stopped doing. Three ways to make sure you don't lose revenue. That type of a way language does better. So you write down a couple of hooks. Honestly, to do that, go to TikTok, watch 30 videos, and you'll kind of see some good hooks. Or just go to TikTok and type in hooks. There's about a million creators whose whole job is just giving you hooks. So write a few down. Great. You've now got your hook. You've now got your top 10 lists and other versions of content. You got your audience. You got your accounts. Open up TikTok. Stop freaking out. Don't worry. Um, let's say you'll do a video, turn it on, and immediately just go, all right, three things I wish I would do if I could do things differently, about data. And then just say your three things that you have written down. Number one, make sure I don't do whatever. Number two, number three. Great, post it or do it with a whiteboard. Three things, write down three things I would never do. Write down one. First is this, right? Same thing with the typing. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go into TikTok and you're going to edit the video. So in there, it's pretty simple. But you could either do it like I do, which is I do clips. So I'll say like three things, I'll like clip. Three things I wish I would do. Stop. Start. I would do this. Stop. Right. So that makes it really easy. So I already have my clips and I'm just putting, I don't have to do anything. If you do it all in one go, what you'll have to do is when you go to TikTok, you'll have to go to click edit. And then any point where you are kind of like finished a clip, you'll click the split button and then you'll, what's the word? Crop the video to only show that section. Write your caption, whatever you want. Doesn't make a big difference. I know everybody will talk about it. It's not that big of a deal. And then for your captions, just use 3 to 4 captions, 2 to 3 that are about the content. So let's say it was about objection handling, hashtag objections, hashtag objection handling, and then 2 or 3 that are about the audience. So hashtag account executive, hashtag AE. You do that. You just got to make sure that you get in at least bare minimum 2 videos per day. My favorite times 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. So I would create 15 videos your first one around. So you have like 5 days of content. And then each day, all you have to do is make like 1 or 2 more videos. So you kind of build that rhythm up and then you'll be fine after that. I will say this, when I first started, each video took me about a half hour because I was like, I'm not sure what to say. I'm getting kind of nervous. I think I kind of messed it up. I don't know how the editing works. And now it takes me 5 minutes in my car. I'm already busy, and 5 minutes on the couch. So it's pretty quick how, as you start to make content, new ideas will come up very, very quickly. You won't need to write anything down, and your ability to edit and shoot content will just get so much better.
So, you have so much to share, and I think that's definitely another episode. And we started in sales, then we
Yeah.
got into audience building. It's just you have so many skills, so we're talking about so many things. And I think the final thing, I guess, to convince people out there is, can you tell us maybe some case studies about startups or founders or even yourself where you've seen that difference after promoting, after building that audience, maybe how it started, maybe it wasn't working at the beginning, and then the final impact on sales?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we can get back to the other elements. We were going to talk about pipeline, profit, and people. We could talk about, I think right now we're stuck in pipeline, but I tell you what, I think everyone on the planet is stuck in pipeline. So I'm okay if we hang out here. I don't know the exact numbers of other folks, but I'll give you my case study and I'll also tell you what else is happening though out there. So there's 2 people that I know that are in their late 20s and they're just good sales reps. One's in customer success, one's in sales. And they've now created enough of a following in the course of the last 12 months, or I guess, yeah, 12 months for one, maybe 2 years for the other, that they're generating thousands of dollars in the side, whether it be through brand partnerships and some is through selling their own content. And so now they're basically building a business by accident on the back of this. So they're an individual, not even a company, and they're getting thousands of followers, or sorry, thousands of dollars in the back of it. Now, as for me in particular, what I'll say is this: when I first started my business, I went through my network and reached out. I then started doing outbound, and that worked out. I started doing webinars to get people some reason to hang out with me, and that worked out a little bit. And business was kind of just hanging out. Then I started posting on TikTok in August 2022, I think, maybe. And within 30 days, I made 10 grand from somebody who reached out to me proactively. All I had was my email. They were like, I don't know what you do, but I want to do something with you. And within 6 months, I had to quit my full time job. And then each year since then, I've grown the business either between 30 and 50% every year, doing nothing special other than making more and more content, building a bigger and bigger following. So it's allowed me to actually spend my time trying to make my product better, trying to make sure that my messaging is where it should be, and making better content. I hope making better content. So I can tell you, even from my own experience, I've stopped doing outbound as much as I do coach people on how to do outbound now, but I've stopped doing it because I have so much coming in from inbound that it's actually a distraction at this point. So I think a pretty good case study for content, and we should be doing more of it. Everybody, get your butt making more content.
Are there any resources that you would recommend for folks just starting out that would like to build their muscle in making content or video content, such as yourself? I also know that you focus on TikTok, but maybe there are other platforms that other founders want to focus on, like LinkedIn or whatnot.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm gonna tell everyone to shut the heck up about LinkedIn. I get it. Your customers are there. Your customers are also on Instagram. You just I'm 40 and an executive, let's say. I'm buying software. So what do I not look at software on Instagram? I only when I'm on LinkedIn am I wearing a buttoned up tie going, oh, I'm interested in software. No, the most of your customers are on Instagram and they're on Facebook and they're on YouTube too. So stop getting all hoity toity about it needs to be LinkedIn. Forget LinkedIn. It's important. Okay. You get my opinion on LinkedIn yet enough? Okay. So where you should be if you want to start growing today is first of all the resource I would just say would be Instagram. Instagram Reels is really blowing up a lot right now. So I think that I'm going to guess that within 6 months we start seeing YouTube Shorts blowing up. YouTube has the largest audience, but Shorts is not the primary mode of how people are using it. So I think in 6 months we'll see that change. As for resources, um, I actually don't have any like specific individuals. The only resource I could recommend would be myself if you're looking to do outbound, of course, but would be growthmatch.io because they will be able to make the content for you, at least get a few things out, show you how it can be done quickly, and you can then figure out, slowly get into the game because you have someone helping you with it.
Makes sense. Thank you so much, Mike. I think you've definitely helped and opened some eyes up out of founders. I know a lot of founders in my area still have no idea how strong video is, but I'm sure it's going to change the landscape in the next year or two. Any last words for founders out there in their early stage startup?
Yes, you can build an entire business based on a tech stack that can move things up to you quickly, Salesfinity, instantly, a variety of different tools. You can get all the expertise you need to make things work by getting a consultant like myself versus having to have someone on board for 9, 12, 15 months, either as a VP or as a fractional VP. And you can build your entire business, at least a lifestyle business, at a bare minimum on the back of content. Don't stop.
Thanks so much, Mike.